The next month, Jake opened his credit card statement expecting to see his balance shrink. After all, he'd been making every payment on time. But something didn't make sense. Even after sending money to the bank, the balance had barely changed. Confused, he looked closer and noticed a line he'd never paid much attention to before: interest charged. At first, it wasn't a huge amount, just a few $dozen, easy to ignore. Jake thought, no big deal, I'll pay more next month. But next month brought another surprise. His rent increased, his car insurance renewal cost more than expected, a co-worker invited everyone out for dinner, and then his dog needed an unexpected trip to the vet. One expense after another kept pushing his plan further away. Instead of paying extra, he made another minimum payment, convinced he'd catch up later. What Jake didn't realize was that credit cards aren't designed to reward minimum payments. They're designed to make them feel manageable. Every payment kept his account in good standing, but it also allowed interest to keep growing quietly in the background. Imagine running on a treadmill that's slowly speeding up. At first, it's easy to keep pace. Eventually, you're running as hard as you can just to avoid falling behind. That's exactly what debt feels like when interest starts working against you. When someone carries several $1,000s on a high-interest credit card, much of each minimum payment often goes toward interest instead of reducing the actual balance. The bank gets paid first, while the debt barely moves. Month after month, it feels like trying to empty a leaking boat without ever fixing the hole. Jake still wasn't worried. He had a steady job, and he believed future raises would solve everything. That's what makes this trap so dangerous. Many people don't fall into credit card debt because they have no income. They fall into it because they believe tomorrow's income will fix today's spending. Then life delivered another setback. Jake's company announced budget cuts. No one lost their job, but overtime hours disappeared overnight. His income dropped just enough to create a problem. At the same time, groceries became more expensive, gas prices climbed, and summer utility bills increased. None of those expenses seemed overwhelming on their own. Together, they quietly squeezed his budget tighter than ever. For the first time in years, Jake reached the end of the month with almost nothing left in his checking account. Instead of changing his lifestyle, he reached for the easiest solution: his credit card. Just until next payday, he told himself. That sentence slowly became a habit. Every payday, he promised it would be the last time. Every month, he broke that promise. This is the debt cycle. The credit card solves today's cash shortage, but it creates an even bigger shortage next month because part of your future paycheck is already committed to paying for yesterday's spending. Before long, you're no longer borrowing for emergencies. You're borrowing simply to maintain your normal lifestyle. Then something happened Jake never expected. His credit score started falling. He was confused. He had never missed a payment, so why was his score dropping? The answer was credit utilization, the percentage of available credit he was using. As his balances grew, lenders saw him as a higher-risk borrower, even though he always paid on time. His score gradually declined. Suddenly, future car loans became more expensive, insurance rates could increase, and even renting another apartment might become more difficult. His debt wasn't just costing him interest anymore. It was quietly making other parts of his financial life more expensive too. The financial stress followed him everywhere. Every bank notification made his stomach tighten. Every email felt like bad news. He stopped checking his account because seeing the balance ruined his day. When friends suggested weekend trips or vacations, he smiled and said, "Maybe next time." He didn't want anyone to know the truth. From the outside, nothing had changed. He still drove to work. He still smiled in photos. He still looked financially successful. But behind the scenes, he was carrying the same invisible burden millions of Americans carry every day: financial stress. Financial stress never stays inside your wallet. It follows you to work. It follows you home. It keeps you awake at night, asking the same question over and over again: how did I end up here? The painful answer wasn't one massive mistake. It was hundreds of tiny decisions that never seemed dangerous. One swipe, one minimum payment, one promise to pay it off later, repeated again and again and again. One evening, Jake finally decided to calculate how long it would take to become debt-free if he kept making only the minimum payment. He expected maybe 2 or 3 years. Instead, the number on the screen completely shocked him. It could take many years, and he would pay thousands of dollars in interest alone before the balance finally disappeared. For the first time, Jake realized something terrifying. He hadn't been borrowing money from the future. He had been giving away his future. And that realization changed everything. Because the biggest credit card trap isn't the interest rate. It isn't the rewards program. It isn't even the minimum payment. The biggest trap is believing you still have plenty of time, while debt quietly steals your future, 1 month at a time.